It's January, 49 BC. A single man stands at the edge of a shallow river in northern Italy. Behind him waits a battle-hardened army, 5,000 legionaries who have followed him through nearly a decade of war. Before him lies a boundary no general is permitted to cross: the Rubicon. Roman law was uncompromising. No commander could bring an army across this river into Italy without the approval of the Senate. To do so was treason, punishable by death. Cross the river and invite civil war. Refuse and face political ruin, exile, perhaps even execution at the hands of enemies waiting in Rome. For Julius Caesar, neither path offered safety. For 9 years he had conquered Gaul, pushing Rome's frontier to the Atlantic and the Rhine. He won decisive victories, accumulated immense wealth, and forged one of the most loyal armies the Republic had ever seen. But in Rome, his success bred fear. Political rivals, led by Pompey the Great, passed legislation designed to strip him of command, immunity, and status. Their demand was simple: disband the army and return to Rome to face prosecution, or be declared an enemy of the state. Caesar chose another path. According to the historian Suetonius, he spoke words that would echo across 2 millennia: Aelia iacta est. The die is cast, and with that, he crossed the Rubicon, setting in motion a chain of events that would destroy the Roman Republic and give birth to an empire. In this video, I use modern AI tools to reconstruct Rome as it stood in that pivotal year, a city suspended between its republican past and an imperial future, already trembling on the edge of transformation. In 49 BC, Rome was already the largest city in the Western world, its population approaching 1 million people. But this was not yet the marble capital of emperors. It remained a republic nearly 5 centuries old, governed by the Senate and sustained as much by tradition as by law. At the heart of the city stood the Forum Romanum. Imagine standing here on a January morning in 49 BC. Around you, the political, religious, and commercial center of the entire Mediterranean world. The Forum was not a single structure, but a dense concentration of temples, basilicas, monuments, and gathering spaces compressed into a narrow valley between the Capitoline and Palatine hills. To your left rises the Temple of Saturn, its columns already ancient, even in Caesar's lifetime. Within it sat the state treasury, wealth accumulated through centuries of conquest. Nearby stood the rostra, the speaker's platform, where tribunes addressed the masses and senators delivered speeches capable of toppling governments or igniting wars. Beneath your feet, the pavement had been worn smooth by generations of Romans conducting business, arguing legal disputes, trading rumors, and watching the constant theater of republican life unfold. But in January of 49 BC, something feels different. Tension lingers in the air, like morning fog drifting off the Tiber. Everyone knows Caesar has crossed the Rubicon. Messengers arrived days earlier, exhausted, breathless, carrying news that sent shockwaves through the city. Caesar is coming. And Rome is not ready for what comes next. The Senate convenes in emergency session, not in their usual curia, but in the Temple of Apollo, beyond the sacred boundary of the city. Pompey still holds military command and cannot legally enter Rome itself. Inside, the debate turns frantic. Some argue for negotiation. Others demand immediate resistance. A few, speaking more quietly, begin preparing to flee. Pompey stands before them, Rome's most celebrated living general, conqueror of the East, architect of the Republic's expanding borders. Yet faced with Caesar's advance, he delivers a stunning admission. He cannot defend Rome. The declaration shocks the Senate. Pompey explains that his legions are scattered, unprepared and largely untested, while Caesar's soldiers are hardened veterans of nearly constant warfare. They have crossed rivers in flood, climbed hostile mountain ranges, and defeated enemies Rome once feared to name. Pompey needs time. He proposes abandoning the capital altogether, withdrawing south to raise fresh armies and prepare for a war that will determine the Republic's fate. And so, within days, the unthinkable happens. The Senate flees. Pompey flees. Consuls, magistrates, senators, the entire machinery of Roman government abandons the city. For the first time in living memory, Rome stands without its leaders. Yet the city does not stop breathing. Nearly 1 million people still live here. They still need grain. Trade continues. Temples remain open. Life, stubbornly, goes on. This reconstruction shows the Tiber River as it appeared in the late Republic, Rome's commercial lifeline. The river was alive with movement. Grain ships from Sicily and Egypt pressed against crowded wooden piers, unloading the wheat that kept the population fed. Smaller vessels ferried passengers across the water, serving as the closest thing Rome had to public transport. The Pons Aemilius, the city's oldest stone bridge, linked Rome to the commercial district of Trastevere on the western bank. Built in 142 BC, it remained an engineering marvel, its arches high enough to allow constant river traffic to pass beneath. Along the eastern shore stood warehouses, granaries, and busy docking areas where imported marble, exotic animals for the games, and luxury goods from across the Mediterranean arrived each day. The Tiber was more than a route for transportation. It was Rome's connection to the wider world, the artery feeding an empire. Now lift your eyes toward the Palatine hill, the spiritual center of Rome. At its summit stood the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus, Jupiter best and greatest, the most sacred structure in the Roman world. For over 4 centuries, the temple had occupied this ground, rebuilt after fires yet always restored to the same commanding position, its triple chambers dedicated to Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva, Rome's guardian deities. Every victorious general ended his triumph here, climbing the Capitoline steps to offer sacrifice and give thanks for divine favor. The roof gleamed with gilded tiles that caught the sunlight and could be seen from miles away. Columns of imported Greek marble framed the structure, spoils taken from conquered cities. Inside stood a massive gilded statue of Jupiter, thunderbolt in one hand, eagle in the other. To look upon this temple was to understand Rome's scale. To worship here was to participate in something larger than any individual, larger even than a single generation, the shared destiny of the Roman people. But in 49 BC, even Jupiter's protection feels less certain. Now move to where most Romans actually lived, the insulae, the multi-story apartment blocks that dominated the city's skyline. These were not the elegant domus of the wealthy. They were crowded, poorly constructed, and often dangerous, the reality of urban life for the majority of Rome's population. A typical insula rose 4 or 5 stories, sometimes higher. The ground floor usually held shops, bakeries, and taverns, businesses that spilled into the streets and turned entire neighborhoods into continuous marketplaces. Above them, families occupied small apartments. The higher you climbed, the cheaper the rent, and the harsher the conditions. Top floor rooms baked in summer heat, froze in winter, and lacked running water. Warmth came only from small braziers. The streets below were narrow and winding, often barely wide enough for 2 people to pass. Waste was frequently thrown from upper windows into the lanes beneath. And yet, life here was anything but dull. It was vibrant, chaotic, intensely human. The streets carried dozens of languages: Latin, Greek, Aramaic, Egyptian, Gallic. Merchants bargained loudly. Children played between carts. Laborers hauled materials for construction projects unfolding across the city. Rome in 49 BC was constantly rebuilding itself, pushing outward, upward, everywhere at once, a city restless with energy and ambition, even as political collapse gathered overhead. Here we see the Theater of Pompey, completed only 6 years earlier, in 55 BC. It was Rome's first permanent stone theatre, a structure that reshaped both the skyline and the city's cultural life. Before this, theatres were temporary, wooden stages erected for festivals, then dismantled once the celebrations ended. Pompey bypassed religious restrictions against permanent theatres by placing a temple to Venus at the top of the seating. Officially, the theatre functioned as the temple's grand approach, a legal fiction everyone recognized and quietly accepted. The structure could hold roughly 40,000 spectators. Behind the stage stretched a vast columned portico where crowds gathered before and after performances. Within just 7 years, that same portico would become the site of one of history's most famous assassinations. But in 49 BC, it stood as a monument to Pompey's prestige, his architectural gift to the Roman people. The irony would echo through history. The man who built this symbol of greatness would die fleeing from Caesar, murdered on a distant shore, while Caesar himself would fall in the shadow of Pompey's legacy. This is the Curia Hostilia, the Senate House, where, in theory, 300 senators governed the Roman Republic. By Rome's standards, the structure was modest, deliberately so. Republican ideology favored the appearance of equality among the senatorial class. There were no thrones, no raised platforms, only simple benches lining a central aisle. Yet the authority exercised within these walls was anything but modest. The Senate directed foreign policy, approved military commands, and oversaw the state treasury. Decisions made here shaped the lives of millions across 3 continents. In 49 BC, the chamber stands empty. The Senate has fled with Pompey. When Caesar enters Rome, he will find the Senate house abandoned, the treasury sealed, the machinery of government frozen in panic. He will force open the treasury, an unprecedented act, and claim the gold required to fund his campaign. He will summon the remaining senators, mostly supporters and those either too old or too poor to escape, and attempt to recreate the appearance of normal governance. But the illusion is thin. The Republic, in any meaningful sense, is already gone. The Senate House remains, a monument to a system no longer functioning, to traditions no longer capable of restraining the ambitions of powerful men. Now walk toward the Circus Maximus, Rome's immense stadium for chariot racing. Even in moments of political crisis, the races continue. Romans demanded spectacle, and ambitious leaders understood the danger of denying it. The Circus Maximus stretched nearly 600 meters and could hold more than 150,000 spectators, larger than any other venue in the ancient world. Set between the Palatine and Aventine hills, it used the natural slope of the land to form vast tiers of seating. 12 chariots raced at once, thundering through 7 laps around the central barrier, the spina. The sound must have been overwhelming. Pounding hooves, splintering wood, the roar of the crowd as drivers fought for position at terrifying speeds. Romans wagered heavily on the outcomes. They aligned themselves with factions, reds, whites, blues, greens, supporting teams with a loyalty intense enough to spark riots. The races were more than entertainment. They acted as a pressure valve for a crowded, diverse, often volatile population. As long as the people had bread and circuses, public anger could be redirected, contained. In 49 BC, the races still run, but the atmosphere has shifted. The crowds are smaller. The mood, uneasy. Conversations in the stands drift away from horses and drivers toward a single subject: Caesar, Pompey, war, and whether the conflict will soon reach the city itself. Now climb the Palatine Hill, where Rome's elite built their residences overlooking the Forum and the Circus Maximus. For generations, this had been the city's most prestigious address. Legend held that Romulus himself founded Rome here nearly 7 centuries earlier. The domus of the Palatine were architectural statements. Unlike the crowded insulae, these homes opened around central courtyards and featured expansive gardens, private libraries, frescoed walls, and intricate mosaic floors. Wealth was meant to be seen. Owners imported rare marbles, commissioned Greek artists, and filled their homes with sculptures taken from conquered territories, quiet reminders of Rome's reach. Yet these residences were not purely private spaces. They functioned as political arenas where alliances formed, favors were negotiated, and careers rose or collapsed. In 49 BC, many of these mansions sit in uneasy silence. Some owners fled alongside Pompey. Others remain behind closed doors, waiting, watching, unwilling to commit until the balance of power becomes clear. The social fabric that once held the Republic together, the dense web of patronage, family ties, and mutual obligation, is beginning to tear. Within weeks, Caesar will arrive. He will enter Rome without resistance, walking streets lined with quiet, uncertain crowds. He will address the senators who remained, promising clemency, promising stability, promising a swift end to the crisis he himself set in motion. But Rome already senses the truth. The Republic is dying. The future no longer belongs to the Senate, nor to tradition, nor to the careful balance of shared authority. It belongs to whoever commands the legions and possesses the resolve to use them. Standing here, looking across this reconstructed city, it is difficult not to feel the weight of what is approaching. Rome has endured invasions, fires, plagues, and internal strife. It will endure Caesar as well, but it will not emerge unchanged. The Rome of 49 BC, divided, argumentative, fiercely protective of its republican ideals, is already fading into memory. In its place will rise a different Rome, a Rome of emperors, of centralized authority, of marble monuments built to proclaim dynastic power. The die is cast, the Rubicon has been crossed, and the world will never be the same. If there is another turning point in history, another city balanced on the edge of transformation, let me know in the comments. History is not only something that happened, it is something we can still witness, if we learn where to look. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Farewell. Farewell.